I was 170 when I got 1,000 kilogram totals. Weight does move weight to a degree, but I think the moment you step into a gym is the moment that you're forever small. I'm 140 kilos without. And I still have days where I'm convinced I'm small. I've actually got to the point where I dread mealtime. I've used anabolic steroids my whole life. There are ways to use as opposed to abuse. Are you willing to inject yourself every week for the rest of your life? There's kids that are taking 3 or 4 grams of test that haven't even got their diet in order. You are going to experience depression, but you need to know that it's not the end. It was probably the hardest time of my life, to be honest. My name is Sam Solomi. I'm a powerlifting and strongman coach. And today, I'm going to talk about how I became the first man in the UK to total 1,000 kilograms. I started lifting weights for the same reason everyone does normally, just get big arms, a big chest, maybe even a 6-pack in the summer. So you go to the beach and, take your shirt off and do whatever you like, young 14 or 15, 14, 15-year-old wants to do. And it became like, when I first went into a gym, I kind of realized how much potential I had for powerlifting. When the first time I ever got on a bench, I could bench 100 kilograms first time I benched. So that's
as
like,
a teenager.
Yeah, I could just get on the bench. I've done like push-ups in my bedroom and stuff like that where I used to do a lot of martial arts. So I did like a little bit of conditioning work, but no actual lifting for the first couple of years. I do like push-ups and like pull-ups and stuff like that and just bodyweight exercises. But when I first went into a gym and I lied on that bench, and I started stacking plates on, I did 100 kilograms for 6 reps. That's when I was like, hang on, I've got the potential here to actually make something out of this. I'm doing I was 16 at the time and I was lifting more than the guys that had been there for a long time. So I was like, look, I've got to do something with this and make this count, This is my new love. And from that moment on, it became like, I was doing Taekwondo at the time and it became my main focus was to get strong. And, I stopped caring about like anything else. It was just like, from that moment on, it was the addictive nature of being able to add weight and progress. So like to put more weight on the bar every time I trained to get that +1 rep, that became like the main focus of my life was to progress every time I went in. So because it was something that only I could influence. So if I wasn't to progress, it would be only myself to blame. So it gave myself the ability to control my life from a very young age. So food had to be on point, sleep had to be right. And I figured out from quite a young age that if all this was bang on, then I'd be able to get those progressions and keep getting stronger every session.
When you say young age, so then how old were you when you did the 100?
So I was 16, you have to do 100 kilograms for 6 reps on bench. That was the first time I ever got on a bench as well.
And then how long was it before, I guess, you went tunnel vision into, actually, this is going to be my life. This is going to be how I make a living.
I mean, I'd always dreamt about making a living from it, but for that to become a reality, I knew that was going to take a long time. And obviously, to make a living off it, you have to get, back then, there wasn't there wasn't YouTube and Instagram like there was now. And there was hardly anybody making a living off, even being a strength coach wasn't really a thing back then.
Okay.
So there wasn't really any way to make anything then, but it still became like, my goal was to make it, was to make my life mold around this thing that I loved. And that was like the ability to progress really quickly.
As the story progressed then, from 16 up until 20, were you competing how did it all happen?
There was a local strongman competition advertised. And this was my first delve into strongman, which was, so there was this competition on Torquay Seafront as part of a carnival at the time. So it was a good event, big crowds. Thought this is going to be great, get my name out there. Have a big crowd watch me lift stuff. And, but the only thing, I was 16 still here and I was competing against grown men. And it wasn't like, it wasn't like nowadays, but there's age categories or teen or junior comps. It was, you get thrown in the deep end and it was like a single swim kind of thing. You either competed and, up to the task or you weren't, So anyway, cut long story short, there was 13 competitors. And I came 4th out of 13 men at age 16. And that was in my first competition I ever did. So that was like, if it wasn't booked before, then I definitely was.
Crazy. Do you have any footage of that? Or?
There probably is something somewhere.
Yeah,
there's a few old pictures on Facebook, actually. I'll get that.
Okay.
I'll get that, definitely get that up.
And when was it that you started really like getting into properly competing? And
so I was actually initially, before powerlifting, I was into strongman first. And that was my initial like my actual initial goal was to make it to Britain's Strongest Man.
Okay.
So from 16, doing like my first competition, I started training strongman events regularly, and that kind of like was my that was kind of my focus until injuries became. So I didn't actually get into powerlifting until injuries took me out of strongman. So this is actually quite, and what happened was, but obviously we'll go back to the time frame before, but at the age of 23, I was doing a log press on AstroTurf, and my foot slipped and I blew my knee out completed, to the point where the surgeon was convinced that my lifting career was absolutely over. So I had a bone fragment dislodged, my meniscus tore, my ACL tore, my MCL tore completely, and my PCL and MCL were partially torn. So every single ligament in my knee was torn to some degree. My meniscus was basically cut in half by the tear, and a bone fragment from my shin bone snapped off and got lodged in my kneecap. So I couldn't fully straighten my leg either until surgery. So I was literally a mess.
It must have been devastating.
It was probably the hardest time of my life, to be honest, going from like, everything came to a standstill. I couldn't work either. So I've always been one of the people that's like going out to work and earning money as well.
Right.
And being injured like that, being on crutches and being unable to go to work, unable to train, I just felt depressed, And that was kind of a point in my life when I thought, I've just come to an end. Do you know what I mean? But then surgery happened, and rehab was fairly extensive. It took me a year to come back to any sort of strength in my lower body at all. But the day after I had surgery on my meniscus, I had a cast on, and I went back into the gym the day after my surgery to squat the bar. And as I was squatting the bar, blood was seeping through my cast. But I had to do it to prove I could squat again. And that's when, obviously the squat being the first lift in powerlifting, after that, that's when I thought, let's see what I can progress to from squatting just the bar at the moment to see how far I can push it in an injured state. Obviously, that was my call to do powerlifting at that point. It was like, right, strongman career may be over because of the injury. I don't want to risk that type of injury again. But there's powerlifting, and at the time, powerlifting was getting bigger and bigger in the UK. So that was my journey into powerlifting beginning.
I mean, it sounds like a very, very tough year mentally as well, going through that, especially when lifting was becoming such a big part of your life. And I want to later touch on like the mental health aspects of why people train and the benefits it can give you. But then to have something so dear to you taken away. I mean, did the surgeon say basically you would not even be able to do any lifting, or is it?
The surgeon said that potentially my lifting career would be over, and
does that mean that not just strongman,
everything? There'll be like no competitive lifting again normally after that. With the extent of the damage, the surgeon said like that was it for me in terms of competing. But I could probably lift recreationally, potentially, and just do it for fun type of thing. But for me, that wasn't going to work. That wasn't going to be me, So with that type of injury, there were two options. The first option was to just have what's called a cleanup, where they take out all the mess, basically. They take up the meniscus that's torn, but they don't actually do any graft surgery to reattach the ligaments. So what they can do, they can take your hamstring tendon and they can repair the ACL using a hamstring tendon, okay? But having that done, at the time, obviously the technology isn't what it is now. That can cause massive issues with the other hamstring to the point where you could potentially not be able to deadlift either. So my option were either not have that particular surgery, but then probably require a knee replacement later in life, or potentially have a functional life, but not be able to compete. So I chose the option of having a basic cleanup surgery, not having a graft, and taking the risk of needing a knee replacement later in life. So I could carry on doing what I did. But they also said, the physio team at the time said that if I keep my quad strong and then knee stable by having a really, really strong surrounding structure, that I wouldn't need a knee replacement, but it would stay strong and stable. I mean, I will eventually, but the idea is to be able to not yet, And it gave me another 10 years of competing at a high level by having cleanup surgery and not opting for the reconstruction.
So it's so nice to see that in the end, things did turn out well.
Do you know what? That's actually a real thing I want to put across to people is when I have clients that get injured, it's really, really important. Like, you are going to be depressed. There's no way around it. You are going to feel really bad. You are going to feel really sad about your life, and you are going to experience depression. But you need to know that it's not the end. That's the main statement I want to get out there, is that, you know, an injury is a bump in the road. It's not the end. It can be the beginning of something new, and it can build mentality going through that. It can build you mentally. And if you can get through that, if you can get through the hurdle of repairing your injuries and coming back, you can pretty much get through anything in life. And I think that translates to anything else in life as well. If you can get through the worst possible outcome in the sport, which is being out injured, you can get through anything, you know?
No, powerful message. So then when you did, after the surgery, you got into powerlifting.
Yeah.
What's the story there?
So when I first competed in powerlifting, there was an option of doing, because obviously at the time I was still really, really weak on the lower body after the injuries. My squat was like, I could probably squat 200 kilograms at this time,
which is half as much as what you do now.
Yeah. So like it was, you know, it wasn't really competitive, but I could still bench 240 kilograms. Okay. So I did my first powerlifting meet was bench only. So where you could pick, instead of doing squat, bench and deadlift, which is a full meet, I picked just a bench press. So I ended up going and, I benched 240 kilograms in my first powerlifting meet. And I took a run at the British record at the time, which was 250. So I loaded 251 and got it halfway up. So my first time in a new sport, I nearly broke the British records.
Oh, literally, it's first time in the gym, 100 kg, first time competing.
Yeah, I thought, well, this is going to be, this is my new target now, was hopefully my goal at the time was to get the bench press record. And this was while rehabbing. Obviously, I didn't know like whether my lower body was going to come back. Like I was hoping it would, because I fancy doing a full meet rather than just, like I've always said, doing like one lift in powerlifting is like doing a third of the sport. It doesn't make me feel complete, you know? It's like literally doing 1 out of 3 possible lifts. So you're having a third of the fun. You know, I'm there watching people squat first when I'm waiting to bench. I'm like, I want to do that. You know, I want to push this rehab up and I want to do a full meet. You know, that was my goal then, was to get on the platform and not necessarily to hit any record numbers, but just to complete a full meet and show that my knee was on the way to healing, you know?
Yeah, because to see all the determination, and that, I'm sure that must have frustrated you a lot, seeing the other people squatting, but to see that now you did get to do that is
it was like
amazing.
I mean, first time I joined in with like full meet, I was very disappointed actually. I only managed to squat 260 kilos.
Only.
Which at the time I was like, that's terrible, you know? I was really like, I've got really high standards for myself and I hold myself to like a really high regard and you know, if I don't perform what I think I'm capable of, it's quite, I beat myself up. And this is something I tell people not to do, but even now I still do it myself. I want to be the best I can be every time. You know, every time I step on that platform, I've got numbers in mind, and if I fall short, I beat myself up. You know, and I still do that.
Kind of perfectionist.
I was still, I think being a perfectionist helps you achieve great stuff. It 100%. Does. But then at the same time, you have to not let that destroy you. You have to, you know, cut yourself a break sometimes.
Fine balance, right?
You know, give yourself a pat on the back when you do something good. You know, there's a bit of both.
You did eventually start squatting again. Recovery, I guess, started to go well, and then you really could get to that.
Yeah, things started to improve. Every meet, I was putting like 20 or 30 kilograms on my squat. My knee was feeling pretty much pain-free at this point, and everything had prepared. Like my body felt good. My squat and my deadlift were improving. And my bench was going up as well, actually, still improving as well.
Awesome.
By like a year in the sport in powerlifting, my total had progressed to 820 kilograms. So I was getting close. I think at the time, the British record was like 950. So I was still a bit off the mark. You know, a year, like back from injuries. I was a little bit behind the top guys. You know, I was close, but not right at the top. No. And it was around this time that in the powerlifting community and the strength community in the UK, there became a lot of hype about who was going to be the first to do that 1,000 kilograms. People were getting close. You were getting 920s, 930s, 950s in comp regularly. And you know, every time there was a big meet like the British, people would be like, is it going to fall? Is he going to go? You know, and there were a list of names thrown out there. And, you know, like I said, I was a bit behind at this point.
Yeah.
So my name wasn't even on the list. And I got really annoyed that I wasn't even in discussion. So I properly ramped it up. I started eating everything that moved. I thought, you know what, if I want to do this total, I've got to be bigger than everybody else as well. I've got to be heavier. I've got to be stronger. I've got to recover better. So I started eating everything that moves. So like I went from having, you know, a reasonably good diet to still having a reasonably clean diet, but I added in some junk food to get a calories up, just in desperation to get bigger, really. There was, you know, at the time I was around 140 kilograms with abs. So I was still fairly lean. So I was like, right, I need to accept that to get this, I need to probably lose the abs and get more like a powerlifting build again. And, you know, get a bit of a power belly on the go and just get that food in, get that recovery on point. And I got up to 170 kilos in the next few years. So I did work.
What are you weighing now?
I'm back to about 140 at the minute.
140, that's 30 kg heavier than you are now.
Heavier, yeah. I was 170 when I got 1,000 kilogram total.
Wow.
It does, like, weight does move weight to a degree. So I do understand the temptation to eat like that. But it has to be phased. You can't eat like chocolate at McDonald's year round and expect to get stronger. Putting a bit of extra food in for the lead up to the competition, absolutely. Food is fuel, but keep the cornerstone of your diet like decent quality, and then add in extra stuff as needed and have a cleanup phase afterwards. You know?
Yeah, and we'll get more into nutrition a bit later, but then, okay, you're like, in your mind at that point, you told yourself it's going to be me who hits that 1,000.
Yeah. So I had it pretty much fixated now at this point. When I say fixated, nothing mattered. Jobs, relationships, all of that, it was all secondary to the goal of doing 1,000 kilograms. Literally nothing else mattered. I got out of bed and the first thing I think about is powerlifting. And the first thing I think about before I went to sleep at night was powerlifting, was what's going to be on that bar on my next session. That was all that matters, you know? I've lost jobs over it. I've quit jobs over it. I've had relationships fail because of it. But it didn't matter because it was like literally all that mattered in life during that time. And I think to be a champion, you have to have that mentality to a degree where to be number one, you have to have a tunnel vision, it's almost like an autistic focus, where you just channel in and zoom in, and I've got ADHD anyway. So to be able to hyper focus, it's actually a skill I've got, and it can be absolutely useless for life to focus on something that's irrelevant. But when you hyper focus and zoom in on something that's positive, the results are outstanding. And that's what I did. Everything was geared towards, I took I was working in security at the time, and I took the easiest possible gig, for work, which was working in a casino and just monitoring the camera. So instead of working on nightclub doors, having an exciting life, I used to sit and watch the camera so I could sit there and eat. I just sit watching the camera all night, and eat as many calories as possible. Wow. That's how that was. So I even changed my career path to facilitate my powerlifting.
Yeah, again, that hyper focus, if put into looking at reels all day and whatever,
that's it.
It'd be the worst thing in the world. But when you put it into something constructive, you get these results. So
these days I hyper focus on coaching. So that same hyper focus that I used to get 1,000 kilogram total is now used to help young people have a better life. So I've used that ability for something good now as well. Not just for my self-gratification. I've used it to improve life, which was always the goal, was to channel that and do something positive with it, because like you were saying, people can focus on negative stuff. And I think cut negativity out completely, focus on positive stuff, and you'll experience growth in life as well.
Obviously that focus is important, but actually day to day at that time when you were training and you're getting stronger every day, what did that actually look like in terms of wake up, eating, training, how many times a week, the whole schedule? At
the time I trained probably 4 times a week, which is actually a lot less than I do now. But when you're lifting those sort of weights, recovery is priority. So I would get up. First thing I do is have what's called a death shake, where you put everything possible, basically your leftovers get thrown into a shake and blended. So I put everything in there, like chicken breast, tuna, yogurt, eggs, and just blend it up and neck it. That would be my breakfast. That would be before I even brush my teeth in the morning. I just send 2,000 calories just down the hat. And then you know, I've got to have a full fried breakfast an hour later as well. So that would be like, that would still be sat here and I'd be there, you know, trying to get my fried breakfast in, my toast and everything. So
I'd taste like, at this point, I mean, with those death shakes, how do those taste?
To be honest, at this point, you just open your throat up and just send it, you know, you don't keep it in your mouth and taste it. You just go through it, you know, you just down it. You just hope for the best, you know what I mean? I think you get so used to that you just like, I could do it in like 10 seconds to plug it down, you know? But it's trying to eat when you're full. It's like every single meal, you're sitting and you're eating and you're sweating. And I'm thinking to myself, I actually hate food. I've actually got to the point where I dread mealtime.
Wow.
This is a slog. I'm there pushing my food behind the plate, thinking, you know, and I literally used to think to myself, that from my plate is you have 5 kilograms on my squats. You've got to eat it, you know?
Crazy. Because I think people out of that world would see someone big and say, oh, they love eating.
Yeah.
But in reality,
you see, why is he still eating? You know, he's big enough. Like, I'm like, I hate it every moment of that kind of food, but hard. I did used to drink a lot of my calories because it took me easy off that, sitting there chewing food. So I'd have like a full meal. I'd have like, you know, mince and rice and some veggies or whatever, but a big washing up bowl of food. And then I'd finish it off with some gold top milk. So the milk with the cream on top for most calories in. And then when I physically could not eat anymore without throwing up, I'd put the food down, I'd plug the milk instead and just get another 1,000 calories in and just force it in, mate.
So how many calories are we talking? Yeah, in a day.
I did go as high as 14,000 at one point.
14,
like that was,
my
I'll
whole
say
week.
10 was my average. And then maybe fueling up to, and then we're fueling up to squat. I'd probably push it as high as 14,000 calories.
Crazy. In the morning, you've had that shake, you've had that fried breakfast. I mean, I'm guessing you can't just go straight into the gym after that. What's the...
I'd probably sit down for like an hour and just chill for a bit, you know. And then maybe a couple of hours after training, I'd have like a shake of high carbs. So I'd have like maltodextrin or glucose, some hydrolyzed whey, some creatine, just stuff that absorbs. It's still got calories in, but it sits really well on the stomach and it absorbs straight away. So I put that in about like half an hour before training, have like a triple espresso and then go and send it, you know. So I'd have like 4 hours in the gym normally.
4 hours.
Where I'd have 4 hours to, and you know, that moment when you walk into a gym, that's the highlight of the day. That's like when you're a kid walking into a soft play area. That's the fun part. It's the rest of the stuff that's hard work. Going in, putting those plates on the bar, that is still the highlight of my life now. It's the most exciting part of the day.
And we'll definitely show some of the footage we've got of Sam in the gym. It is a kid in a candy shop, isn't it?
I still, you know, even though I'm retired from competing now, I still enjoy it probably even more than I ever have because there's no pressure now. It's just pure fun now. There's no like, I have to hit this target. Now just go in, you know, make little progressions, do some bodybuilding training, do some grit and enjoy myself, you know? There's always been people that will talk about retirement, whether it's still going to be enjoyable to train. It gets better.
Wow.
It doesn't get worse. It gets more enjoyable. You're free. You're free to do whatever you want. You don't have to train for a sport anymore. You can just go to the gym and enjoy yourself. That's what it's about. It's about enjoying yourself in life. That's what I thought.
So it sounds like from that perspective, in terms of the actual work in the gym, because you love it, and I can see just from your face lighting up in here, this is your world, isn't it? Like,
it's my thing.
Because of that, from the training side of things, you never really had any issues with discipline of like that.
It was more like I have to go because my mental health would deteriorate if I didn't go. So it was more like, it wasn't a case of, you know, having to force myself into the gym. It was a case that I had to go to keep myself mentally right, you know? It's something that I have to do every day to feel relaxed and normal afterwards, you know? If I didn't train, the noise in my head would be too much. And it keeps me right. It keeps me able to, training keeps me able to focus on everything else as well. It's never been hard going into the gym. The hardest bit has been leaving. You know, when you're in the gym and you're training and you're thinking, damn, I've been here 4 hours, I've got to eat something. You know, that's the hard part, is walking out. You know, it's been a constant that's always been there and it's always been really easy to go and train. And it's the most enjoyable part of the day. So I've never had issues with motivation in terms of, you know, getting in. But I know people do. But yeah, for me, I've always loved it. So it's been easy. What's hard for me is like, you know, when your body's really sore and you know you need a rest day. That's hard. In terms of motivation, I struggle with motivation to sit at home and chill. That's the hard thing for me is, you know, I find it hard to switch off, to think, like, you know what, today my body's wrecked. I'm just going to go for a walk. That's where discipline comes in. Is to allow myself to breathe and recover. That's the hard part. Is, you know, when you're feeling, you know, that feeling when your body is cooked, you know, when your central nervous system is battered and you need a rest day. It's what I try and do is I try and find things to do to stay active without necessarily pushing myself to that point. So I'll do like, maybe go for a walk with a backpack on my back for cardio and just do something. I find if you get the body moving, you'll become a cripple anyway. Yeah. That's not a bad thing, but there is a point where you do have to be like, right, today I need to not send it. I need to have a bit of a rest. You know, you can't full send every day, you know, your body will burn out.
Yeah, I think that's it. It is that champion mindset, because we interviewed a world champion boxer, Takalu, and he said exactly the same thing. Completely different sport, but he said his trainer would have to check up at home to make sure on that day he's resting.
That's it. Yeah.
But then I guess for you to hit those numbers, you had to have a certain amount of rest, right?
It was having to, like, knowing I've had a big squat the next day. If I went into the gym because I had to go, and I felt like I had to go mentally, I know that I wouldn't hit that squat the next day. So it was, the motivation for me was to stay in and fuel up and, you know, to be recovered and try and occupy myself with other things. And funnily enough, that's actually, like, I was still working full time in security at the time. That's actually why I started coaching. It was tough. I started coaching to fill my time up on days off, because I was sat around bored, wanting to train, nothing to do. So I thought, right, what can I do to be productive, you know, in the time when I wait to train again? So I started off coaching online, you know, a couple of clients. I didn't think at this point that it would be, you know, I didn't think it would become my life at this point. It was just something to, you know, making a, you know, few extra, you know, few extra little bit of money as well. You know, a bit of money on the side always helps. Even if you've got a full-time job, you know, you can't have too much. And I started doing a little bit of like powerlifting coaching online, and it got bigger and bigger. It like really, really took off.
Like, if you fast forward, you said you got around 150 clients?
Yeah, I've got like, I've got 150-ish clients. Sometimes more, actually. Some come and go because I charge monthly. So clients, if they're busy with stuff, there's no contracts or anything like that. So people can just pay as you go with me. It's the best way. It keeps people keeps people on board. Yeah, I've got 150 clients. I've got like 50 clients for strongman and powerlifting, roughly, and roughly 100 clients for grip strength for sport. That's kind of like my niche, and my main focus that only I really offer is grip strength coaching for strength sports, but also for rock climbing, King JJ, like any sport where you need stronger hands. I structure like grip training programs for that, and that is something I've always been interested in as well. That obviously comes from my background in martial arts as well, was having stronger hands. I realized, actually, even going back to when I was 14 or 15, I realized that, you know, being resilient and being good at any sport, you need strong hands for nearly every sport there is. It like benefits everything in life. There was no benefit of life to not being stronger through that area. Like, whatever your sport, even tennis, baseball, whatever, you need to be able to hold stuff. So it really opened up a new target audience.
Oh, awesome. And for anyone watching this who wants to get in contact with Sam for this training, make sure you check in the description box. All the details are going to be in there for his socials to get in contact. But on a side note, I guess related to this, I'm really interested in longevity. And the number one indicator of living a long life in terms of like strength is actually your grip strength.
Yeah. So in that case, I'll live forever. Well, we can hope, can't we?
No, but it is one of those things that I just thought, okay, yeah, cardio, you know, overall muscle mass, whatever, but grip strength is one of the biggest indicators of living a long life.
And what's really interesting about grip as well is it can improve with age as well. So you don't get to a point in, with sport, a lot of people like struggle with, like, in their late 30s, 40s and 50s, there's normally a decline in performance that you have to fight against, you know? Now with grip, for some reason, now I don't actually know why exactly, but there is actually such a thing as well as old man strength, where you meet a gnarly old dude that's been working on a building site all his life, and he's got a better grip than like most pro strongmen, and you're like, just from like picking up concrete blocks, and you're like, how? And that improves with age, which it gives you something. It gives people something that they can constantly progress it and work on that forever. You know, it's really cool.
What's the video? Is it Thor's dad, or the one we watched? Is it like his? You look at him, you wouldn't expect it. He's there out.
Like, he's got massive hands like Thor though, which is I think he actually lifted more than Thor on the bowling handle, which is like just that's absolutely insane.
That's wild. So back then, you're in that routine. How old were you when you were doing all of that training?
So up to 1,000 kilograms when I was going for that. So between 2015 and 2018, that's when I started powerlifting. Was in 2015, and I hit my first 1,000 kilograms in 2018. So that was 3 years. For those 3 years, it was powerlifting was the main focus, and it was literally everything. So 3 years of my life was literally dedicated to hitting 1,000 kilograms, where I tried to make everything geared towards that particular goal. The only aspect, my career choices, like where I lived in the UK, I moved several times to train in different places. I traveled to better gyms for better equipment. I got on as much competition equipment as possible. And I made everything for those 3 years. It was, so I would have been, God, I'm trying to think how old I was now. I would have been 29 when I hit 1,000 kilograms. 25 when I really started getting serious about powerlifting. So basically the second half of my 20s were purely just like laser focused for that.
And how was it then to finally hit the 1,000? How did you get there? What did that mean for you? What was the feeling?
This is actually a fascinating question, because with ADHD, the gratification lasts not very long at all. So I may feel good for like a few hours. That's like when I hit a PR in the gym, I'll feel good for like 5 minutes, right? When I hit 1,000 kilograms, that high probably lasted about 3 hours. Wow. Not as long. It's not what people think. It's more it's the journey as opposed to the destination for me. I think there's something to do with serotonin. You know, I don't make very much having ADHD. So I normally go back to thinking, oh, well, that was fun. Let's go on to something else, you know? It's kind of like, I've always said before, it's like Christmas Day when you're like when you're a kid, when you're like 6, and Christmas Day comes to an end and you feel pretty sad. It's the same feeling. It lasts, like the high lasts not very long. And then I'm looking for something else to do, you know?
I mean, that's why we call it evolve, because it's you never really like, the journey's the destination. It's that constant striving to be better. So.
I always say to people that I coach, enjoy. People are like, I'm so desperate to get to the top. I'm like, yeah, I know, I get that, but enjoy the process. Enjoy what I would have loved to have done if I could go back, was to sit in the moment and actually enjoy it for what it was. You know, this is what people miss out on. People miss out on enjoying the process. People think about a destination. It's life is the process of getting there. That's the enjoyable part. When you get there, the high doesn't last. It can't. If it's a dopamine high, it lasts minutes. It's not like, it doesn't last. You know, there's no longevity in that high. You don't feel like, you don't feel euphoria for like 4 months when you win a show. It doesn't work like that. I think if anything, after a competition, quite a lot of people feel fairly depressed afterwards. They come down from that spike. And then people have what's called post-comp blues, when they feel a little bit low after a competition. And I always tell clients that when you feel that, the best way to deal with it is to pitch another competition straight away. So your focus doesn't go on other stuff. So you keep yourself focused on what matters. Just reset straight away, like rechannel that and focus again. That's what I tell people.
And it's so transferable to other things. I mean, even in the YouTube game, it's like, okay, we're starting off. You hit your first 100 subs, you hit your first 1,000, then 10,000. Like, I'm so fixated on 100K now. And it is that every time you hit it, now what?
Yeah, you're like, it lasts, you feel great for what, a few minutes? And then you're like, you want more, don't you? Yeah.
So then you finally hit the 1,000. I guess, was that when, were you already, I guess, known? Or is that what put you on the map? Or how was it in terms of?
Like, before I hit 1,000 kilograms, I think I probably had like 20 clients maybe. So it wasn't enough to be my full-time job at this point. But, it was a nice second income. And I was working in security. I was traveling around the country actually as a bodyguard at this point as well. So I was doing like, fun little security gigs. And yeah, like I was fairly well known. Like I go to expos and people would ask for a photo or something like that, and just get me to like do that, and you know, a little like thumbs up photograph, something like that. But I wasn't like household name or anything like that. But you know, powerlifting is still quite a niche sport, you know. But then what actually happened as a result of hitting 1,000 kilograms, about 3 months after I retired from full-time work, and I had like 50 clients, and I became a coach. So this was the main transition for me in life. I was like, wow, life's actually now based around this. This is now not a hobby and not a pastime. This is now my career. This was like, so after doing that, this was something that was fun that I did every day, that I was channeled into and everything else, but it wasn't my source of income. And then it became my full-time job as well. So it went from being something I enjoyed to being a full-time source of income in the space of a couple of months, which was like, that was the splasher. Now, like, you know, I said about the high from the competition, like not lasting, being able to not answer to anybody in work, not be told when to turn up to work, not be told what to wear, what to do, what to say. That was the high. That's the lasting high in life. Freedom to be wherever I want, to go wherever I want, to train whenever I want, to get out of bed. You know, if I fancy it, I can get out of bed at 1 p.m. As long as I do my work. I've got freedom now. I don't have to have an alarm clock, you know. I could work in my own time. That's the lifelong high. Being able to do things at my own pace. That's what I wanted always. That was the main transition.
That's been earned though through all of that discipline before to combine your passion and, I guess, use the word hobby and that back then, using that to become an entrepreneur. I think there'll be a lot of people watching this. That's their dream, really. I mean, hitting the numbers, getting that like limelight is awesome, but being able to wake up every day knowing you're doing something you love, I think there's probably no better long-term feeling.
Like they always say, if you enjoy what you do, it doesn't ever feel like work. That's what they say, isn't it? They say that work is in your life if you enjoy what you're doing. So that was always the goal. I've never been that good at working for anyone. I'm not great at what I do. I like doing things my own way. And for somebody with my kind of personality traits, it works incredibly well. Being able to be my own boss. Actually, saying that, I've got 150 bosses. You know, that's happening. So I haven't got one boss anymore. I've got 150. I've got to keep happening. So it's actually not, but I can do it on my own terms. And I genuinely care for everyone I work with. So it's not just work. It's like it's benefiting their life. Seeing people achieve what I did and better, some people, you know, seeing people go win pro shows, being at shows around the world with people as well, being able to go to competitions and get there and help my clients compete. This is a high in life, you know, being able to be there, see what I've done, see the work I do unfold. It's permanent, you know?
Yeah, I mean, even for me now to like, I kind of remember that this is my work now, getting to speak to people and have these amazing conversations. It's great, isn't it? It is.
Being able to do what you enjoy I would say that's the target in life, is like find something you love. And you know what? If you've got a trade and you love it, great. You know, but that's really all that matters, is that you enjoy doing what you do every day. That you get out of bed and you're motivated for the day because you enjoy what you do that day. That's the target. You don't want to get up and be like, oh, not today. That's literally the word feeling. I think it's having that dread. Do you know, like that Sunday night feeling when you're going somewhere and you don't want to be there and you know you've got to get up the next day? I, now in life, I'm never going to experience that again. That's done. That's in the past. And that's
100%.
Every single bit of hard work, every meal I forced down has led to this point where I don't have to do that anymore. You know, that sweating over my food and getting my food in and doing everything I had to do to achieve what I did is a step in achieving that.
Awesome. And I mean, we've covered your story now and how many positive aspects there are, but we can't speak about this without also looking at the darker side of the sport. And I know you're quite open about that. So I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people looking up to you now, younger viewers maybe, who they want to basically be you and do what you're doing, from the sporting side and the achievements of hitting those numbers and the business side. But then, you know, the word steroids is a big thing, mental health, substances. Can you give us a glimpse into now, after having achieved so much and working now as a coach, what's your perspective on all of these things?
I'm going to start with saying powerlifting. There's two branches in powerlifting. There's a tested branch where people are subjected to steroid testing. So in that, it would be considered cheating to use. I competed openly untested. So I competed with 0 drug testing, where I could take literally anything I wanted, and everybody else was also untested. So it wasn't cheating when it's a level playing field. So we were all on anabolic steroids at this time. And I've used anabolic steroids my whole life. So I've never ever competed tested. I've always competed where I was allowed. So I think it's very important to not cheat. So if you use anabolics, and I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with using them if you're sensible and you use them responsibly. But I do think there's a lot wrong with competing where you're not supposed to compete. Like, compete where you're allowed. There's plenty of federations that allow usage. Do one of both. So be honest with yourself and be honest with everybody else, and compete where where's appropriate. There's always going to be drugs and sport go hand in hand. There's never going to be, for as long as people have wanted to throw further, run further, jump higher, there's always going to be a way people are looking for performance. And, chemicals are a way to boost that performance. And they're always going to be in the sport. That it's not going to go away. But I think brushing it under the carpet is making it worse, because if people aren't open about it, then people like me aren't going to be able to help people based on my own experiences and my own mistakes I made in the past. Being able to use that to stop the next generation from developing health issues. That's the main thing. It's to be able to get a positive out of it and be involved heavily in harm reduction, and be able to help people that are using. So they use steroids, but there's a safer way of doing so. Like getting regular blood work done, keeping diet good while on, doing cardio to keep your lipids and your heart healthy. There are ways to use as opposed to abuse, which is the main thing to get across here.
Yeah, so I guess if there is someone who is maybe at the crossroads where they don't really know what they're doing, or they don't, they want to progress, they want to get bigger, they want to get stronger, but they don't really have any knowledge, what would your message be to someone in that position?
I'd weigh it up very carefully. The main thing to think about is, with usage of testosterone, it can make you dependent for life on this. So you will need to stay on TRT forever, potentially, because your natural levels don't ever come back 100%. That's the main thing to think about. So basically, the main thing I would say is are you willing to inject yourself every week for the rest of your life because you want to go on now? And if you are, I think by all means do it, but do it sensibly. So if you're not, maybe stay natural and enjoy yourself and just enjoy the process naturally. It's still fun. It's just not going to be as extreme, But weigh it up very carefully. And if you want to be professional in a sport where there's no drug testing, then by all means, if that's your goal, it's really going to do it. I'm not going to sit here and say, don't do it, because I did. But be very aware that it doesn't always lead to ultimate success. It can lead to these substances cause issues like depression, anxiety, paranoia, changes in sex drive as well. It can cause a whole host of issues, both psychological and physiological as well. So you have to weigh it up very, very carefully about whether it's for you or not. It really is. There really is a lot of things,
And when you say use it sensibly, what does that mean?
If you're somebody like me that does stuff to extremes anyway, it's very easy to get in the mentality of more is better. So people are taking insane amounts. You get kids now taking, there's kids that are taking 3 or 4 grams of text that haven't even got their diet in order. They're eating chocolate at McDonald's and they're taking 20 mils of anabolics per week. Why? Get the basics done first. Train hard, sleep, eat, get that dialed in. Stop going out partying and putting whatever up your nose every weekend, and get the basics in order first, and then think about, you're getting so much from the basics anyway. And then if you do decide to take them, make sure that everything else is in line with that, or when you do everything. So I know kids that go out, partying every weekend, they drink. They're drinking and they're slaughtering their livers, but their liver and kidneys are getting hammered by anabolics and recreational stuff.
Yeah, wow.
So make your mind up. Pick your poison. Pick something. If you want to do something, pick one. If you want to take steroids, do that. Don't do anything else. People smoking 30 a day, drinking, putting whatever up their nose. And when you do that combined with anabolics, that's a massive health bomb then, and it's going to explode eventually. Just make your mind up. If you want this life, like, live it. Don't try and live everything at once. If you're ready for anabolics, your life has to be in order first. You know, that's the main thing of, you have to live this, eat properly. You know, don't skip on it. Try and go a whole year without skipping a meal or skipping a gym session. And then be like, right, now I'm dedicated enough to what I'm doing on. Like, I think anabolics as the icing on the cake. They aren't the base. This is the base. This is your diet, your training, sleep, supplements. It's more the pyramid at the top. It's not the base. People think of steroids are the cornerstone of everything. It's the icing on the cake. So get everything else in order first, and then adding a bit of chemical help on the top if you're going to do it. Once everything else is sorted, that's what I mean by sensible use.
No, I appreciate that. And I mean, I think you said last time we met, you don't drink anymore.
I think it's one of them where when I stopped drinking, it was like people would be like, "Oh, you know, you're coming out."
British culture.
Eventually, yeah, it's always, you know, with growing up in the UK, you're almost encouraged to drink. It's almost like, "Go on, mate, go on, just have one. It's not going to hurt." You know, you're not like, yeah, it's almost encouraged to do it. It's not just considered like bad. It's considered part of life, and you're considered a bit of an outcast if you don't drink. I don't think it's so bad these days for younger people, but when with our generation, when I was growing up, it was very much socially encouraged.
100%.
So I was trying to get odd one out when I stopped. I was like, I don't drink anymore. But then when you think about what it actually does, like, putting alcohol in your body doesn't have a positive impact on anything. You will feel like absolute dog shit the next day. There's no way to not. And feeling like that can't possibly help you training. It doesn't benefit you in any way. Like, people say, "Oh yeah, but it's good to unwind." You know, you can unwind without drinking and taking substances. You can have fun without doing it. You can have a good time. You can go out for food and see your mates for some food and just go to a bowling alley or something. You can do something social without getting wet. So it's not hard, you know. I think when you open your eyes to what you can do, like, without the hangover the next day, without throwing up in the morning and, you know, having a massive headache for 4 days, I don't want to do that. You know, it doesn't benefit anything. It doesn't benefit brain function. It doesn't benefit the gym. It doesn't benefit anything else in life. It just wrecks things. You feel shit, and it becomes an addictive thing to do as well. You know, and I always tell people that, like, yeah, you've got to have a good time as well. But, you know, it's one of those things that if you do want to be the absolute best, I think that's got to go. It has to be like, you have to make your mind up what you want. If you want to live a party lifestyle, then I think, you know, making it to the top of the sport won't happen. You know, you have to make your mind up. There have to be some sacrifices in life to be the best at something. And I think you have to sacrifice the party lifestyle. It's something that, you know, you have to be sat in the house in the evening eating your meals, you know. It's one of them. If you want to be the best you can be, and
force feeding yourself those shakes in the morning, but like, that's the reality of it, isn't it?
Like, it's not glamorous like you see on Instagram. It's not. You don't go out to clubs in a tight t-shirt and, like, pick up chicks. You're sat at home forcing yourself with food. That's the reality of life. It's so it's really different from what people expect. You know?
Yeah, and I like the example you gave last time as well. You said that, for example, if you did go out, those are 2 days, maybe perhaps of training that you're jeopardizing.
Yeah, it's what I always tell people is, if you go out once a week, say you go out and get absolutely bladdered on a Saturday night,
which we've probably both done in the past in the UK, completely normal part of the culture.
It's literally considered normal to do so, and it's actually encouraged, right? But if you go out and get wrecked on a Saturday night, your body will feel it off until Wednesday probably. So that's half the week written off. I'm talking a heavy night, where you live it out till, you know, a good night where you're out till 6 a.m. We've all done it, you know, and we've all regretted it until the next day at work, you know. And it can write off potentially half your progress doing that. And, you know, if you went out twice a week, it can potentially write off the entire week, you know. And, like, this bounce up, you know, even one night a week, say it went to 2 days completely, that's you working out of 80%. There's actually even less. Like, you're working out of 60% of the possible days, which is a lot, you know, and that mounts up. So I do tell people, if they're young and I want to have a good time, my suggestion to clients is to have fun once a month. Because 2 days out of 30, that's not so bad. And until you really want to make it to pro level, then that's an acceptable sacrifice for me, to still have a life as well. I get it, I get people who got to go out and enjoy themselves, Like, and I'm not saying here to not have fun in life. I'm saying be aware of the consequences it can have, though, and do it responsibly, like everything, do it in moderation,
And when you hit that 1,000, were you going out and doing
nothing at all? I
pure tunnel vision?
Zero social life at that point. It was, I worked, I went to the gym, I trained, I ate, and that was it, I didn't even see my wife hard all the time. And that's obviously probably contributed to us not being together now. But I wouldn't regret, I don't regret anything. I would change absolutely nothing if I go back. I would do everything the same over again. So I've got zero regrets.
And then to touch on the mental health aspects, I mean, I guess first we can start with what lifting can do for people in terms of self-confidence. Like, why should people lift, basically, in your opinion?
So I think if you go to the gym, it improves, it makes you feel good. So when you feel good, everything else comes together as well. But in terms of appearance as well, having a lot of muscle mass can improve your confidence. It can improve your ability to speak to people and have that confidence about yourself when you talk as well, which I think is really important in life. To go, when you start going to the gym, build everything around it as well in life. It's and generally in terms of, I don't know if anyone else has got this, but I've always got this like internal noise going on in the head. I think it's probably because I've got ADHD, but there's like always a lot going on. But when I train, those voices get quieter, and that's really important because I can think better. And the gym keeps that down, keeps that internal noise down, and then my mental health improves when I can think clearly.
And from having close friends around me who are into powerlifting and those things, like, those benefits are probably what keeps them in the gym more than anything. But then the other side of it, unfortunately, I've seen that sometimes the most insecure people about their bodies are the strongest, are the most jacked people as well. So with all your experience, how do you deal with, I guess, the insecurity side of things and depression of once you're in, like, only 300 kg, not 400 kg squat, and all of that?
It's really, you always want more. So the moment like, I've always said something with, this is more very much bodybuilding actually, but I think the moment you step into a gym is the moment that you're forever small. Like, you always think, when you train, you always think, oh, my arms are skinny, my chest ups, my lats are not, like, not wide enough, my delts are flat and not capped. So you kind of set yourself up to it. And this is pretty much everyone I've ever met in a sport of any sort of gym-related sport has this. And they're never strong enough, never big enough, never lean enough. They're always like, oh, I'm a bit fat at the moment because I haven't got all 6 abs out. This type of thing. It sets you up to always, but I think it's not a bad thing, to always want more. It keeps you focused. It keeps you on track. But there is definitely a negative to, like I said earlier, people beat themselves up over it. Don't do that. Don't be like, I'm small, I suck. Be like, yeah, I could be bigger and I want to achieve that. Like, give yourself a pat on the back for what you have achieved. If you've got 90-inch arms, you're doing well, you're big, Like, I know everyone wants to have 22-inch arms. You can work on it. But at the same time, see if you appreciate what you have achieved. Sit in the moment and enjoy your own achievements. Give yourself a bit of a test,
It's a lot easier said than done, because I know those people who I look up to so much, who look incredible in my eyes, will turn around sometimes and just ask me, does it look like I lift? And I'm thinking, for the person out of that world, you look like, the Hulk, or you look like the final boss in a good way. But then but as you said, it's kind of, it is what drives people to be greater as well. So I
think we all have it to an extent. Like, if you, it's quite normal for gym guys. We'll get like a t-shirt, like we'll put a t-shirt on. You'll be like, oh, I look smaller now, I'm going to change. And I might even do it now. I might even go through 3 t-shirts for what I want to wear.
Crazy.
It's like, and I still think now I'm 140 kilos with abs. And I still have days when I'm convinced I'm small. It doesn't ever go away. But then I think if it does go away, your motivation to train is going to go away as well. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Just don't beat yourself up too much. That's the main takeaway. You probably, like, some people have to have it there to drive them, especially if they're insecure naturally. It can give you that fire. But yeah, I think I've still got it now. It's never going to go away. I think, if I ever make it to my 60s or whatever, I'm going to be old, wearing a shirt. I'll be like, well, I'm going to be, I'm going to change. It doesn't go away. It will be there forever.
And linked to all of this, I mean, keeping big, keeping strong. We mentioned about diet before and how, you were getting, 14,000 calories in a day. From the performance aspect, yeah, you were hitting numbers.
Oh, yeah.
But from a health aspect and feeling good, what's your advice now with all your knowledge and experience to being able to get to progress, but without destroying your body with doner kebabs and junk food and whatever?
People generally think that you've got to eat big to this big, which is true to an extent. So eating, anybody can get fat. If you walk down the street, right, you'll see thousands of people that are overweight, right? It's not hard to get fat.
Yeah.
But getting genuinely big is different. You need quality food to grow. Like McDonald's and stuff like that, and like kebabs doesn't build muscle tissue. It needs to be heavier, but get your diet in order first, and then add extra calories to bulk, and then have a health phase where you eat properly and train up and stay lean as well, stay healthy as possible. When you're not eating for competition, do some cardio, get a backpack on your back and go for a 20-minute walk. One thing I always say to clients is to walk after meals. Eat and then go for a 20-minute walk. It'll improve insulin sensitivity, But you need try and no matter what your goals are in your sports, try and have your cornerstone of your diet what's more like a typical bodybuilding diet. Base your food around clean carbs, good quality meat, good quality protein, and then add from that, But it will give you longevity in the sport as well. If your health markers are poor, you won't be able to do this forever, I'm lucky. I've been in it for 20 years. I've been lifting heavy for 20 years. I keep on top of everything. I get blood work done regularly. Food is spot on most of the time. I rarely eat junk food now. I'll have I may have a pizza once a week and a slice of cheesecake once a week, but it's not a regular thing, And I would advise young people looking to, grow and progress their body, get your diet in order first before anything else, and learn what food just works for you. Learn how to make good choices when you're out at a restaurant for food. There's plenty of good options out there. You don't need to eat junk.
And out of curiosity, then, what does a day of eating look for you nowadays?
For now, I probably eat about 6,000 calories now. I maintain 140 kilograms on that. Very, very low in fat nowadays. So my fats are low. My diet's based around lean meat, pasta, rice, shakes, yogurt, that sort of thing. So it's all purely clean food now. Just lots of it, if you can eat lots of food that's good quality, you'll have a better quality of life and grow better.
No, makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know, before when we met, you mentioned a couple of the old powerlifting greats in the UK who they achieved amazing things, but the diets weren't necessarily in place.
There's been a lot of progress the last few years in terms of, understanding of nutrition. And, back, even when I started, I was told, if you want to get good at powerlifting, go and sit in pizza Hut and eat a good thing and sit there for 4 hours and eat. And you will put on weight, but your health markers will be off, but imagine theoretically, if you could sit and eat steak and rice for 4 hours, how much more performance you have, how much bigger you'd be, how much quality of muscle. So sit, you've got to chew that dry chicken in the face. It's got to be done.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and have enjoyable food. You've got to have what you don't want some of the time,
But I like what you said about once a week, maybe you have it, it's not you can never eat bad, but if it's just once a week, you can enjoy it without it ruining your life as well.
I think now is, I'll probably have a pizza once a week as my go out once a week, pizza, a bit of cheesecake, and, you can have some enjoyment, unless you're on a bodybuilding track for the last few weeks. That's only maybe just 6 to 8 weeks. You have to be on point with everything.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, I think you're going to have, especially from a social aspect, you can go out, get some food, and eat pretty much. Just make sensible choices where possible. That's the main thing. So not to pick the greasy option where you can, just be sensible about it, but enjoy life as well. There is potential to enjoy it. But yeah, I'd say I don't even think it was a cheat meal, because I think that's setting up a binge eating mentality.
Yeah.
People have a cheat day and they think, right, I've got one day, I'm going to eat as much junk as possible. And that's a very negative mentality to have. So I think, go out and enjoy one meal,
Yeah.
and have it like, but don't even think of it as bad.
Yeah.
Just fix it in, work it into your macros for the day, like work out, maybe take something out somewhere else, and you can fit it in and structure it, and it can fit in with your day like everything else.
Yeah, and I mean, being in Thailand sometimes, like, because the portion sizes in general are a bit smaller, I might have a burger here, but it feels like a third of the size of a burger I'd have in England. So I don't even feel that bad after it.
That's why you get 3 here. I quite often, like, even in the gym, I have like, even the gym here, they do meal prep, and the meal prep is quite small. So my meal would be 2. I'd have 2 meal preps. That'd be a meal for me. But if it's small, just, you get your beef and noodles, ask for double. Go give you it,
Sam, it's been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for breaking it down. The highs, the lows, this was a raw conversation, like the raw 1000 kg. So yeah, for anyone watching this who wants to get in touch with Sam, fatmuscle_coaching on IG. It's going to be on the screen right now. But could you let us know what exactly can you help people with?
I am a powerlifting and strongman coach. I offer specific grip strength coaching for all sports. I also do harm reduction work. So if you do go down the route of using any heads or anything like that, hit me up and we can do it safely.
And to those, of course, watching, thank you very much. Make sure you check out all of Sam's socials. They're going to be in the links below. Of course, thank you very much. Let us know what you think about this. Let's have a debate in the comments about your approach to this. What do you think about training? What do you think about steroids? We want to know everything that you agree and disagree with. And of course, if you did enjoy it, please do hit the like button and consider subscribing, as it helps us to meet more inspiring people like Sam and keep the conversations going. So we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.